That's the biggest thing when I was down in the headlights check was the guys.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join Commissioner Stacy in a short prayer.
Lord, thank you for all of your wonderful creations. Thank you for the opportunity we all have to live in this free country. Thank you for the men and women who defend this country. Also, special thank you to the men and women who are doing their work, especially hard this month, to increase the awareness of individuals with disabilities. For the volunteers who make the 4-H Youth Program strong here in Seneca County, developing our future leaders. And for the men, women, and all of those in the industry who help feed the world, as we recognize agriculture this month as well. Please guide us through the work we do for Seneca County. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Roll call.
Commissioner Thomas?
Here.
Commissioner Kushner? Commissioner Stacy?
Here.
I'll accept the motion to approve the digital audio video recording of the previous board session from Thursday, February 28th.
So moved.
Second. Roll call.
Commissioner Stacy?
Yes.
Commissioner Kushner? Commissioner Thomas?
Yes. Adjustments. The one thing I'd say is we'll probably just go ahead and move county addressing up to after weights and measures. That way, in the interest of staff time for the auditors.
Thank you.
It could be wise for the taxpayers to have the auditor back in her coop.
It's not farm week, it's weights and measures.
Do you have any adjustments?
I do not.
Okay, so let's talk about weights and measures.
Well, this week is Weights and Measures Week in Ohio. And we have the honor today to have Fran Elson-Houston, Chief Deputy Sealer for the state of Ohio. She's with the Department of Agriculture. So I would like her to give a presentation, and that way you know how valuable it is for the role that the county does with weights and measures. And I would also, before we start that, like to introduce Ron Butts. He's the Deputy Sealer for Seneca County. So, Fran?
Thank you, Jolie. Thank you guys for allowing me to come and talk to you today. Governor DeWine proclaimed that March 1st through the 7th would be Ohio Weights and Measures Week, and so we have that proclamation. I've been going around the state this week talking to students and to teachers and explaining to them the role of weights and measures. The Ohio Department of Agriculture Director is the actual state sealer for the weights and measures for the state of Ohio. However, the county auditor under 319.55 of the Ohio Revised Code is responsible for every commercial transaction that takes place in her jurisdiction as well. So we work with the counties and we train and assist them. We obviously will bring in the big stuff, the big scale trucks, the big provers, the things that cost $300,000 and $400,000, and we'll call and send Jolie an email letting her know when we're coming with what piece of equipment, and Ron will meet us out and we will work together doing the big vehicle scales at your concrete, at Heritage Ag, landfills, which we got a complaint on this week. I sent to Ron. So they were worried about the scale. So back there, so Ron's going to have to go check that out. So when we get complaints for your jurisdiction, I always send them to the county inspector and let them try to address it first. If they need our help in addressing it, we're happy to come and assist. But we actually, like I said, we are responsible for every transaction. Not just that the consumer gets what they pay for, but we're also responsible that the business owner is then properly compensated for what services or goods that they have sold. So we just provide this equity in the marketplace. So while our job is actually very rewarding at times, it can also be very challenging. And one of the challenges is obviously equipment. So the county does have some equipment. They're required to bring them to the Department of Agriculture every 3 years so they can be measured against the state standards. Our standards are then measured against the National Institute of Standards and Technology in Gaithersburg, Maryland. And Gaithersburg standards are traceable clear back to the kilogram, the original kilogram in Paris, France. So we have a hierarchy from Seneca County all the way to Paris of the standards actually being correct. But a big aspect, as I said, and a challenge of our job is when we go out, and if we don't have like the proper equipment, we're shutting down a business owner for a little bit. So if Ron goes to a gas station and he's got a 1 5-gallon test measure and he needs to test 4 to 5 pumps, he's shutting down an aisle at a time and they cannot use it. It's not safe for him. There are vehicles out there that actually, and Julie and I were talking about, that have actual 3 provers that reside on the back of the truck. He gets his work done in a more efficient manner. The business owner's happier because he can get in and out of there and start letting cars get in and fill up. So if it's something the county can afford to get, that is a great thing. Any type of weights, we've got medical marijuana that's brand new to Ohio, and we're all getting called and saying, you guys need to come certify our scale. Well, the Ohio Department of Agriculture was not listed in that law. So we have really no authority to go into a medical marijuana facility. However, the Ohio Pharmacy Board is requiring those facilities to have certified scales. And the only person that can certify them is Ron or myself or my employees, because we are the weights and measures officials in Ohio. So we have a lot of work that we're still doing, a lot of stuff that's still challenging. As I said, you guys do gas pumps here. Ron goes in the stores, does all the scales in the stores here. We also check packages to make sure that, as I've talked to the kids this week, I always talk to them about their bag of Skittles, and how if they just look at the front of the bag of Skittles in the bottom right-hand corner, they're always going to see a net weight. And so in order for us to verify what that net weight is, Ron has to take a scale, set it up in the store. He has to then take his weights that are calibrated through our office, actually verify that that scale is accurate. He needs to then empty the bag of Skittles onto the scale and see if it literally did weigh whatever the net weight content is supposed to be. They cannot charge you for the bag as far as part of the weight. They just need to build that into their pricing. And we talk to business owners a lot, and they're like, well, then how do I get reimbursed for the packaging? You have to build it into your price. I'm not going to tell you what you have to charge, but I'm going to tell you that you can't put it in the net weight content. So we do those. We also check and verify the scanners where they're scanning out your pricing and checking that. We verify those. We, at the Department of Agriculture, issue device permits for the large scales. And we also issue a registration to companies that want to work on devices, such as scales and meters and gravimetric testing, which is a mass testing. So we certify them. The only persons that are allowed to install, service, repair a commercial device in Ohio is someone registered with our office. And that's been a change for Ohio. That got changed in 2016. So we've been implementing it slowly, and we're getting now with the county inspectors and telling them, okay, it's been 3 years. It's time. Everybody should be on board. Everybody needs to know, should know this by now. So we're making sure that we've got the people that have the proper training installing that, because if you get somebody in there that doesn't have a proper training or doesn't have the proper equipment, your business owner just spent $15,000 on a livestock scale that he cannot use because I can't seal it. And then it ends up being in a court case, and I end up getting subpoenaed. So, and I can't justify it. If the counties let that happen, how do I go in and protect you at the same time? So I need to be able to work with your county inspectors and your county auditors to make sure that we're always on the same page and that we're protecting each other's back. Because believe me, I do have your back, and I try to have your back every day, and making sure that we aren't approving anything that could be potentially incorrect. It could be an accurate scale, but still not be correct. Because there are certain requirements that come with the commercial device that can make it accurate but not correct. So we work, like I said, very closely. We see Ron usually about 3 times a year for training. He was required when he first came on board to take 20 home study courses, 2 tests, and now he's required to do continuing education every year. And so we see him to provide that for you guys at no charge, other than the travel that you might have to obtain to get him there. But that training is very important. All the new technologies, like I just talked about the medical marijuana, we talk about that, you know, electric cars. I mean, nobody thought about electric cars 10 years ago. But we at the national level, which I'm obviously part of the 50 state directors that help write the standards, we did, and we were developing standards clear back as early as 8 and 9 years ago. So because we knew these electric vehicles were going to have chargers everywhere. And I forgot to look to see how many Seneca had, but the last, I bet they do have. Honestly, you don't think so?
2, but I don't know that they're the
3?
actual money charging.
Yeah.
Right, they may
There's
not be
think
money
there's 3.
charging yet, but they will be. Because we've been working with industry too on how is that charging gonna work. And so we're also looking at the national level, like, well, then how are we going to test it? And how am I going to ensure that my inspectors are testing it safely? They're messing with electricity. You know, that we gotta make sure they're safe. And that's always my first thing on every training we have. The very first thing we talk about is the safety of it, the test, and the equipment that you're going to need to perform the test correctly. So we, again, we put out guidance, we put out examination procedures for the counties as well. And like I said, anytime Julie or Ron has a question, if they call, I'm always happy to help them. So I appreciate you guys giving me some time this morning to explain to you weights and measures and how important it is and how much jeopardy you really can put in to your county if you don't have the proper person working in that job. So Julie has her person certified. He is actually very good to work with and does a good job, and he does not hesitate to reach out to me or one of my staff if he has a question. So I think Seneca County's in very good, capable hands. So thank you guys again. Happy Weights and Measures Week.
Do you guys do rail scales as well?
We do.
And is that equipment that you bring in?
We do not have a test car,
Okay.
but there is a company called Rail Scale that has a NIST certified rail car. And we will actually statically test the scale. We will not be doing it in motion.
Okay.
And so we'll have our scale truck for that. We have 3 scale trucks. They each carry 30,000 pound of weight and a 4,500 pound weight cart, motorized cart, so that we're able to move those weights along the actual scale in a static motion, not the in motion weighing. So we do have that. We have one 100-gallon propane prover. So we check all the propane delivery trucks that are going to houses. And again, we do that with Ron, and we have one 100-gallon vehicle tank meter, which is your fuel oil and your other home delivery oils. And we have a 1,000-gallon prover that will go to the bulk racks and test the meters there. So we're pretty covered over the big devices, and then we rely on you guys here in the county to do all the smaller things.
What about different type of flow meters, like,
Mass flow meters?
yeah,
They're usually tested gravimetrically. I am in the midst, actually on a work group with the National Institute of Standards and Technologies, and I've been on this work group for 10 years, which doesn't make me very happy. I want them to do something, to use an actual mass flow meter to be able to test one. Because right now, our only method of testing a mass flow meter is gravimetrically, which means we would have to weigh it and have to do it in mass. And it's a very long, drawn-out process, and it keeps the business confined that day, and they're not very happy, and I don't like to keep them confined. I want to get in, get out, and get my job done. So we're working on getting some of those mass flow meter testing units approved through NIST, and then once that is approved, because right now in Ohio, we in Administrative Code 901:6-8, we can only use testing devices that are traceable to the National Institute Standards of Technologies Handbook 104 or 105. So we are required to, if NIST has not approved them, I'm not allowed to use it as a test measure. Now, that being said, we have had this work group for such a long time, and C&G out there, very dangerous to do gravimetrically. Very, very dangerous. I cringe when I have to hear about C&G. So I am actually, the Director of Agriculture has the ability to grant an exemption. And I am going to talk to the director about granting an exemption to get a mass flow meter for at least C&G.
right.
Because it's just too dangerous. We've had, and most people don't know, because again, I do keep you guys' backs pretty well covered, but we've had 3 explosions by trying to test gravimetrically on C&G tanks.
Yeah. Liquid asphalt would be another one.
Another one,
That's
very, yes.
Very dangerous.
Very
you know,
dangerous.
500F.
Yes, and you know, there are devices out there, they're
Yeah.
just not approved, and we've got to, you know, I stand up at every meeting and I say, look guys, I know, but we can't keep collecting data for 25 years. We got to start
Try
moving
something.
on this.
Yeah.
At
The
some
industry knows it
point.
works.
Yeah, exactly. And industry is not going to let it if it's going to cheat them
Right.
or cheat someone else. Because most businesses are good.
Yeah.
They want to do the right thing by the customer, and they're not going to do that. So I always support the meter, mass flow meter guys. They always come up and tell me thanks at every meeting because I'm
It's
the
some
only
mad
one.
science in some of them.
It is. It definitely is. It is. So.
Can I have Ron come out and test my scale, because I'm sure it's broken.
In your house?
Yeah. Going up.
Get him some Skittles.
Skittles, yeah.
Well, let me tell you a little secret about that scale. That is not a commercial scale. Therefore, it could be off 10 to 20 pounds.
So the doctor's scale is probably not
The
commercial
doctors
either.
are.
Probably way over.
They are
way
not.
much less. Yes.
You probably weigh much, much less.
Much, much.
And if you really need a good boost, come to my office. I got a scale I can put you on.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very
No
much.
problem. Thank you so much for having
Kind of a
me.
heavy topic, but.
Oh.
Yes, it was a heavy.
All right, do we want to talk about addressing now?
Addressing,
Any other questions? Okay.
addressing, last year, almost 2 years ago, we started the venture with 911, getting the next generation 911 moving, and we're getting close. But once we started getting into that, this new company that we contracted with offers software with the package that does mapping. Currently, EMA pays for contract with DDTI that does mapping, does road maintenance, and then also for the 911. So we looked into it. We asked the help of the auditor and her staff to help look at these contracts to determine, okay, the contract that we're using with DDTI is the software that the 911 company's Motorola's offering, if it is the same. And then also we got looking into addressing. EMA has done addressing for a very long time. It used to be at the engineer's office, then went to EMA, and Julie and I have been talking about addressing for quite a while, and a lot of the struggles with citizens, yes, EMS is open 24/7, but our ECHO guys out there don't know how to do addresses, so citizens expect when they go out there, they're gonna get an address right away, but, if Mike's not there, or, pretty much Mike, is not there, they can't get an address. So, talking with Julie, their people they're always there, they would always be able to help, it would be a central location. So we talked about if the software they currently have would be capable of doing the addressing. And I can let you explain your software.
Sure. I'm Brian Cullen. I'm with the Seneca County Auditor. I'm the new GIS analyst. So that software, GIS, Geographic Information System, that's that digital mapping software. And essentially what the EMA had was sort of a dumbed down version of what the software we already are using, because it was specifically for addressing. And we think that it would be a lot easier if we were able to have it be done in-house. So we make one change in our data set, and that'll be stored in our database, and then that goes out to all the other departments that would use that address data. So it would just be a lot easier for us to be able to do it with my software, since we were already paying for it.
Nobody's address changes right now? Everybody's address stays the
Nope.
same?
It's
And
already.
the only new addresses would come through your office?
It's more about the process of updating the address list.
Yeah.
So instead of having the EMA take care of that, now the auditor will take care of that. It's going to be the same process.
Yeah, I just don't
really
want to
nothing's
create
gonna
panic
change.
that everybody's getting a new address.
Sure. Yeah, the real big change is just which department is going to be updating those changes.
The engineer is okay with this change?
Yes, the engineer didn't want addressing back.
Okay.
So,
Charlene, any thoughts? Good? EMA?
Part of the impetus behind this was I was trying to figure out a way to streamline the process so people could do one-stop shopping. You got to go to the auditor's office anyway, and you might as well get your address while you're there. And another thing I was trying to do is just save money, because I think we have so many different contracts with DDTI. We had to do some research into who was paying for what. And with Brennan and Julie's help and Charlene and a bunch of other folks that got involved in this process, I learned a lot about it, and I don't think that EMA is the best place to do it.
Right.
I think downtown would be the simplest way to go. And nobody's address will change now.
Okay. The ambulance will arrive at your door.
Absolutely.
Yep. So, yeah, do we need a resolution to confirm this?
I think that's what we'll do. We look back in records, seeing as we don't know when the actual change occurred. We haven't found a resolution that said why it was taken out of engineer, taken it out of, given it to EMA. Charlene did, she was looking into other counties, and they did find the ORC basically saying that the county commissioners may designate street names and assign numbers to buildings along the street in unincorporated areas, so we may appoint. So Julie thought it would be a good idea if we actually did that by resolution, and they are willing to take it over effective April 1st. Hopefully at the township meeting, we'll be able to at least kind of let the townships know and give everybody a little bit of a heads up. And so we do have a resolution drafted for that. I can either read it when I read the rest of them, or...
Do we have any discussion on that?
Nope, those.
Yeah. So, thank you, Stacy. Thank you, Ken, for being champions of the public purse. I mean, we're saving some money. Thanks, Julie, for taking it over, and good collaboration. Okay.
Do 4-H next, I assume you're here? Yeah. Well, she's got more fun.
You got, well, 4-Hers coming? What do you want to do?
Katie's back there. Is there anybody coming to join you, Katie?
No, it's just me.
They're all in school, what's up?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are they giving you a microphone today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. On new business, we have it's 4-H week. And Commissioner Stacy has a proclamation she'd like to read.
I do.
Katie, would you like to come up and join us? You can come over here.
I have my prop, since he was in my office, so I brought him along to put out as well. Yeah, see? Well, and,
Is that a price show, Molly?
yeah, there it is, champion. And I'll explain that, but also in our connectivity, as I said earlier in the prayer, the importance of developing our future leaders is obviously key, and is what the Forge program does as a leading youth organization. And I have this for when I've done some school programs or some bring your children to work day programs I've done, and talking about where the money comes from, and we don't have time to go through all that, but we do a little bit of role playing and emphasizing that the 4-H program is one program that the youth can relate to, and even if they aren't in 4-H, they know what 4-H is. And so that tells me volumes about things going on in Seneca County, but also the fact that it's involved because it's, while not mandated, it's something in Seneca County has chosen for years to support. And most recently, beyond the 4-H program, the second agent with the ag agent that we supported is all part of OSU Extension. So glad to have this proclamation to present to Katie, who is the youth educator here in Seneca County. So the proclamation from the Board of Seneca County Commissioners: no matter what school you go to or what project you're interested in, there is a 4-H club for you. Whereas Ohio 4-H Week will be celebrated across the state this week, March 3rd through the 9th, as 4-H youth and volunteers will be actively informing Ohio citizens about the 4-H program and how it can and will benefit participants, families, and their communities. And whereas this special statewide promotional effort is specifically intended to increase public awareness of the 4-H program, excite current 4-H members, and to recruit new 4-H members and volunteer leaders in all 88 counties in Ohio. Getting over my cold. Whereas 4-H is a non-formal educational youth development program offered to individuals ages 5 and in kindergarten to age 19. Ohio 4-H Youth Development reaches more than 240,000 youth each year, helping kids learn by doing through hands-on activities. And whereas Seneca County has 43 active clubs featuring more than 1,000 youth and 150 adult volunteers, and whereas all 4-H programs focus on actively involvement and quality experiences which stimulate lifelong learning of values and skills. 4-H members learn valuable lessons in leadership, communications, and collaboration while increasing their knowledge in math, science, technology, and a variety of other topics. And whereas the Seneca County Board of Commissioners recognize the importance of 4-H programs for many youth across the county, helping them to better themselves and thus making the community a better place to live. The board also recognizes that 4-H programs give youth a chance to pursue their own interests while learning to be leaders and active citizens. And now therefore it be resolved that the Seneca County Board of Commissioners, in recognition of this important 4-H program, hereby proclaim March 3rd to the 9th, 2019 as Ohio 4-H Week. In witness, we, the Board of Commissioners, hereunto set our hand to cause the great seal of the county to affix to this proclamation, the 7th day of March in the year of our Lord, 2019. So thank you for your leadership in this and what you do for all of those youth. So did you need a picture, Jimmy? You're good to go.
I got a bunch, yeah.
I'll have plenty of choices. Very much.
Are you guys ready?
Whenever you're ready.
Yeah, my daughter is,
One and a half.
the ID for,
Okay, sure.
is that okay?
Yep, and just on the 4-H, my daughter was a product of the 4-H system in Seneca County and, loved it, grew from it, and really, I can't say enough good things about 4-H, so. She was Republic Rowdy Rednecks, Rough Riders, Seneca Saddle Straddlers, so. Those are kind of names you want to put on your college application. We have one piece of business with our distinguished attorney from the prosecutor's office. Would like to talk just a little bit with Ken about county ID.
All right. I'll start
Josh
this thing
Clark.
off. As a part of the streamlining process that I've been involved with for the past several years, I apologize, I had the same cold you do. That's why I'm drinking water. We were looking at the IDs that the EMA issues to pretty much everybody. We're using a 12-year-old hand-me-down machine that runs on XP. It doesn't have the ability to customize the title and all the things that it says Seneca County across the top of all of them. It just automatically does that. We can't change it unless we dig up a really old software engineer that could probably write some software for this. So my original plan was to invest in a new machine, and those things are expensive.
Ballpark.
For the machine, $4,000, and then each of the cartridges are about $1,500. They print about 100 badges for that much money, so that's expensive. The last two we've had were hand-me-downs. We got them from the sheriff and a couple other folks, but in the process of doing all that, I was just trying to figure out how we were going to fund it, because a lot of the projects we do are not funded, and we just kind of pull it from our budget. It came to light that we have a possibility of some liability issues with creating IDs for every person in the county, essentially. All the firefighters, EMS personnel, everybody that has or has potential to be coming to the EOC or needs access to an emergency scene. The cities do theirs, and I think what we came to understand after talking with Joshua from the prosecutor's office is that these IDs they're county IDs, and they say that it kind of misrepresents that the person might be a county employee, and that's a concern liability-wise. So, not wanting to stomp on his thunder, I'm gonna let him talk about that, because I don't really understand it a whole lot, and I'm not trying to say we're not gonna do anything for anybody. I just think we need to do something different. And I'm not sure that it's a function of EMA to create IDs for all of these other departments. I'm not sure if it is. That was the question, and here we are.
My concern, obviously.
Josh Clark, distinguished attorney. He's the guy in the suit. We're paying him extra to wear a suit.
My concern was the liability issues.
Yeah.
When we started talking, I was a firefighter prior to going to law school. I did full-time and then some volunteer work. And as a volunteer firefighter, you get guys that maybe are 20 years old, 21 years old. They're going 20, 30 miles over the speed limit, which you're not allowed to do anyway, and blowing stop signs. And my concern was what happens if one of these individuals T-bones a family in a minivan or something and potentially injures someone. First thing they're going to do is when they show that ID, it says Seneca County. They're clearly not a Seneca County employee. They're, ex-township employee firefighter, but it says Seneca County. Lawyers are going to start at the top and work their way down, so they're going to join Seneca County in any lawsuit because they're going to say, well, you're allowing them to represent themselves as employees of the county. So because of that, we want you to be held liable, be held responsible for this that happened. I'm not saying we should get rid of IDs altogether, but from our office's perspective, we're kind of getting the county exposed to a lot more liability than I think we need to with non-county employees. I mean, we're giving them to zoning inspectors in the townships, we're giving them to all the volunteer fire departments, the joint ambulance districts, everyone's got a county ID that's not a county employee. And that kind of also raises concern where, what if they get injured on the job? And then they then say, well, according to this, I'm a county employee, so now I want you guys to compensate me for getting injured on the job. So that was just kind of where we were coming from. Ken and I got to talking, and my understanding is there is a list of everyone that has an ID. So if the board would want to move in that direction where we kind of pull back in the non-county employees' IDs, there is a database as to who has these non-county IDs.
Right, and it was something like this came up because I mean, I hate to say this, but this is kind of what a lot of folks believe. We've always done this. So if we've always done it, then we might as well keep on doing it. I don't think that's good logic, especially when it comes to the liability of it. And I had never really even thought of that until I talked to Josh about it. So it kind of raised some concerns. And I'm not sure that EMA is even the right agency to be issuing IDs to the county employees. Maybe that should be HR.
Well, another concern is there's no background process.
Right.
So they're getting IDs, we don't know who's getting these IDs. We actually had an incident come
We
up
did.
where someone that probably shouldn't have an ID, had an ID, and it says Seneca County employee on it. And there were other issues that came along with that, but he had a Seneca County ID.
Is there another technological solution, like can a local fire department take pictures, upload them, and have something printed out and mailed to the firefighters? Is there another solution out there that they could control on their own?
I'm sure there is. I don't know what the expense would be. And I'm not trying to cost anybody any money. That's the thing.
Yeah.
But there's better ways of doing personnel accountability that don't require you to print out a $15 ID card. There's little nameplates that are Velcro tabs, and you drop one at the door, you drop one on, there's a lot of different ways of doing personal accountability on scenes of fires, EMS scenes, or disasters that don't require a badge with a picture.
Yeah.
The short answer is yes, but I don't think everybody's going to want to go out and buy themselves one of these machines. And the price that I gave you is what it would cost to replace the machine we have. I'm sure that there's newer, later, greater, cool machines that do all kinds of stuff. I didn't look at the price of those.
The issue also is there's no way to remove Seneca County from the
That-
current machine we
currently,
have.
no.
So that was if we could take that off and still issue IDs to, X Township Volunteer Fire Department, but we don't have that
Yeah,
ability.
but who would be policing that?
Right.
To say, here's my letter of introduction,
Yeah.
this is the person. Yeah.
So that's the issue is, the way to fix it, we don't have that capability without.
And I think more research needs to be done a little bit on this, but I think Josh is right. I think the current IDs need to come back
Yeah.
because of the liability. So I think we need to submit to the fire chiefs and the EMS, and anybody that has one, put out a blanket letter that says, return your ID, we're working on a solution. But currently that we don't have that solution, but we know that we don't want our proverbial tail swinging in the breeze.
Yeah.
On the current ones, is there an expiration?
There is, a lot of folks don't renew them, and a lot of things
Well,
I've
at least
found out
that's
through the
out.
research of this. Yes, I've researched a lot of folks that have them that have expired in 17, some expired in 15. The current ones that we are issuing are expired in 20. So, not a lot of folks come actually renew them. All the firefighters do because they use them. And we make 3 for each of them, 1 wallet card and 2 tags that they punch and wear on their uniforms.
And I'm not trying to pick on the firefighters.
No.
I said I was one, but
No.
I was on the way. I was
I
on the
was
way
one
home.
too, so-
I was on the way home about a month and a half ago, and see lights in my rear view, and I was going 60 and 55, and he flies past. I mean, he had to be going 20 miles over, and then there's an intersection he turned down, and the stop sign blows the stop sign. So I mean, that just brought it back up into my mind again. Like, what if
One bad apple.
he or she's not paying attention, and they do hit somebody or.
I have to, and I know nothing about any of the software.
Sure.
But BMVs are eliminating doing this stuff on site, right? They're mailing them to you
Right,
now?
yeah.
So I'm assuming somewhere in the center part of the state, they're producing these and mailing them out.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any equipment there that can get you just have to wonder. I mean, if
I
there's how
wouldn't
many
even know who to
BMVs
call
in the
for that.
county, across the state, at least 88,
Sure.
probably more than that in some areas. Is there equipment that's gonna be doing nothing that is
Excellent question. I
I-
hadn't even considered that.
just because we just had someone in the house have a birthday and they got their new one and I said, oh, it came in the mail, and they said, yeah.
Well, currently with our machine, we have to run it on an XP machine, which can't be connected to our anything. So it's a standalone 2007 vintage machine that we nurse along to keep running. And Mike, the guy is technically a genius. I mean, he can make it run. He could probably start up a computer running 1987 DOS and make it run. But I don't know if that's the best method to create county IDs.
Well, I guess from our standpoint, I mean, what do you want to say? I mean, I think for employees, I think transitioning that to some HR oriented function makes a lot of sense.
I would agree as far as the background check or knowing that the information is accurate.
Yeah.
Most of that stuff I get, when a guy comes in, he hands me a piece of paper signed by his fire chief. And then he has a certification number, and I search the certification number on the state website, and it tells me that this person is truly that person. But that's as far as it goes. And, you know.
And then as far as, you know, other folks who are not actual employees, you know, I think we need to put a moratorium on that and research solutions.
Mhm. And more people I've talked to, like yourselves, we issue the ID, you put it in your desk, you've never used it since.
Yeah, I didn't give them.
Exactly. So, I mean, I think we've reached a point of futility on a system that is not really useful to most of the people carrying those cards. And the liability is just another issue, which is the overwhelming issue.
Well, that was my thing. You get a 20-year-old, you know, that causes an accident. They're going to show that county ID because they think, well, maybe that'll help me get out of any kind of trouble I'm in because of this. And once that's out there, it's out there. And that was the big concern we had.
Are you looking for any further direction from us on that?
I needed to bring this to your attention.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do it with the legal guy in the house.
Yeah. But I think you're on the right track. I mean, moratorium on new IDs for non-employees, and try and get some of those IDs back, and then figure out a way to transition employee work to, I guess, the auditor. I don't know.
All right. So my plan of action is I'll write a letter at requesting the ID cards back, and I'll submit that out to the masses. I'll have Josh look it over, and I'll make sure you have a copy of it before I do any mailings or emailings or anything. Because I want to make sure we say the right thing, and I'm sometimes not the most eloquent dude you've ever met.
You can
So-
start by collecting nutters.
I'm sure I have a drawer full of them somewhere. They're expired, I'm sure.
Yeah, so if we could recycle them, maybe that would be an answer. I don't know. But
That was a function of, all those were a function of 9/11, really, because everybody wanted to know who was what and where everybody was going, so.
It seems like it just got way out of hand.
Well, the
I
word
think
on
that
the, word on the
develops-
street, which is a rumor mill, where there's gotta be some fact in it, that Homeland Security is working on a federal ID type system to go with all of your NIMS courses and all of the things that you're certified in. And I don't know what that's gonna cost. If the federal government's involved, you gotta believe it's gonna be huge. Huge. And, but then they're gonna do it online, and then those, when you certify in those courses, they will mail you that. And I'm like, where are they gonna get the picture? And then the license bureau thing came up, and I'm like, well, that makes sense. I mean, it's amazing what they're capable of doing, but I don't know what the future is on that. And like you said, 9/11 started it. Now we're just trying to, you know, funds have dropped way off after that.
Okay.
2001, so we're just trying to keep up with what we're doing, and this is, after talking to Josh, I think it's a bad idea to do it the way we're doing it. The jury's still out on what we'll do in the future, but thank you for your
Thank
direction.
you. Thanks for putting it, John. You don't need to stick around.
I don't need to-
Go serve the taxpayers.
I want it.
Save us some money or make us some money. All right. Come to the point of my favorite month of the year as commissioner. So many good things happen. Would you guys like to come up?
Absolutely.
It's Abilities Month. And we kicked it off, Disability Awareness Month, with a nice luncheon out at School of Opportunity, which is a good time, wasn't it? You were there. And then we're going to complete the month with the basketball game. And look at this, I remembered to wear my t-shirt today. Like
Awesome.
You guys can come up here and have a seat. Got a little bit of a proclamation for you.
Oh, geez, didn't you mean we get to go to jail?
Well, the prosecutor left, and here.
Hey, don't break the camera now.
You can sit down here at the end if you like.
Oh, geez. All right.
Is that all right?
Chair, the commissioners. She's right behind you.
Oh, nice seats. Hey, it's nice and warm.
We call that the hot seat.
Squeeze to the left, maybe? Roll to the left. Okay, Chris.
You can adjourn.
I believe, Commissioner Thomas, that they would like to do introductions real quick.
Okay, that would be perfect.
Perfect. Chris, would you like to start us off?
My name's Chris Wagner. I am from Seneca County, and I also work for Seneca Riyadh.
Hi, my name is Michelle Smith, and I'm also from Seneca County, and I work at the Seneca County Opportunity Center, and I'm a STIL member.
My name is John Devana. I always work at Fostoy for 4 days, and I work at the Cinemark and on Saturdays, turning tickets.
My name is Brian Hess, and I'm from Tiffin. In Tiffin, I also work at the Fostering Division. I'm a STIR member.
Absolutely, and we are so excited to be here. We thank you for your support. We're all from the Opportunity Center, and my name is Marta Moore. I'm the Director of Community Advocacy and Supports. And I also have with me...
I'm Natalie Renker, and I'm the Advocacy Coordinator out there.
And we do have some events to share. If you guys want to share your events.
That'd be great.
Okay, we have the ham dinner coming up on the 14th of April. And it's going to be like, you know, for the Seneca County Opportunity Center. And it's, you know, Easter egg hunt from 1:30 to then. And I'm also a member of the STIRS and the Action Club, and I am also a president from there.
Do you guys all know what Action Club is? Do you want to tell them what Action Club is? What we do?
We do stuff like Easter egg hunts for the kids and that, and make plastic eggs and all like that for them. And we do a lot of things for them. And we also go out and do ham sandwiches, sub days, and everything like that.
Yeah. So it's a branch of our local Kiwanis group, which is also
And we all
do
save,
service projects.
we also save bottle tap.
Yes. Pop tabs for the Ronald McDonald House, right?
Yeah.
Michelle, what events do you have?
March 13th, we have a craft night at the school opportunity. This is the second one that we have done. And it's $40 for one of these, and 20 of it go back to Unity.
And then you got one more.
And then March 16th is the annual craft show.
All right, John, what do you have? Try to be quick.
Tonight, we have a bingo, bakery bingo tonight at the school. It's 50-50 drawn.
So bakery bingo, play bingo, and win baked goods, right?
Yeah.
Brian, what do you have?
On March 26th, we have our annual celebrity basketball game out in Heidelberg, and we might see some of you guys out there. Do your talent.
It's one of our favorite events.
Yeah.
All right, you want to hand me your flyers?
Jimmy, bring your talent.
What talent? So as you can tell, we have so many events planned because we love Disability Awareness Month. And so thankful to be here today for the proclamation.
So, whereas individuals with developmental disabilities, their families, friends, neighbors, and coworkers encourage everyone to focus on the abilities of all people, Whereas the most effective way to increase this awareness is through everyone's active participation in all these community activities, and the openness to learn and acknowledge each individual's contribution. And whereas policies must be developed, attitudes shaped, and opportunities offered to citizens with developmental disabilities to live independently and productively as possible in our community. And whereas we encourage all citizens to support opportunities for individuals with developmental disabilities in our community that includes full, access to education, housing, employment, and recreation activities. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, as the Board of Commissioners, Seneca County, do hereby proclaim March 2019 Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month, and recognize that people with developmental disabilities are just like you and me. Take the time to get to know someone with a disability and what she or he has to offer. So, thank you for coming in today.
Thank you.
My favorite month of the year as a commissioner.
All right, we're
Get
going
that
to take
guy
a
right there.
quick group photo. Everybody want to smile?
This up here like
Oh.
that.
All the props.
I love it.
All right.
We're in
Awesome.
jail. We're going to court
Excuse
now.
me.
I know that guy for many years. I don't know.
Guys, is there anything else you want them to know before we leave today?
We work at, I know a lot of people, they help us, our needs from the school opportunities, keep us busy, do all the events.
So you appreciate all the support?
Yes.
You guys have a wonderful staff out there from top to bottom, so
Yeah,
you're very
yeah.
fortunate.
Thank you.
I appreciate all the work they do.
You ought to come out and watch us and see what we do.
I've been out there.
He
I've
was
seen
just
it.
out here on
Yeah.
Friday.
Yeah. I've been to Fostoria,
Oh,
and I
that's
see
right.
all you, that you do in Fostoria as well, which is amazing work, so I
Awesome.
really enjoy it.
Well, thank you for coming and
Thank
sharing all
you.
your information with us, especially all the events.
Jimmy, we'll
and
get that out
activities.
on social media?
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
We will be so happy to have the updated Mario. Folks in the chair. He wants to make it on his office wall, so you guys might make it.
Be good, Chris.
Yeah.
Stay out of trouble.
Yeah.
Take care, bud.
Okay, you
Brian
too,
will be
bud.
right there to help you. Thank you so much for letting us.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Every month.
You want to follow behind me? And I navigate between the flag and a chair again. Perfect. Well done. And I'm going to grab my first.
Thank you so much.
Yep, thank you.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Well, we sure scrambled this agenda. Would the administrator like to do a report today?
Sure. I pulled up some of our departments, trying to space some of these updates across. Pulled the dog warden. Her revenue's at 51% collected already, which is not surprising because we do dog tags, and they're usually collected in the first part of the year. So she's at 51%. Her budget, she's sitting at 14% spent, so doing well. EMA, they are collected at 75%, which, the majority, not majority, 60,000 of it comes from the commissioners in support of EMA, so they're at 75%. Their budget is sitting at 12%. Maintenance, since maintenance is a general fund account, we don't have a separate revenue for them, but they are sitting at 12% on their budget. Museum, also a general fund account, is sitting at 14% on their budget. And EMS, where's their revenue? Wrong way. EMS revenue. Did I close that one? Their expenses are at 14%. Their revenue is at 64%. So, general fund, we are sitting at 21% of our original budget in expenses. Sales tax is at 16.34%, and our revenue is at 13.26%. Available to appropriate is about 1.4. That's all I have. The other two, I'm drawing a blank. Medicaid, still the same, and sales tax, I had read the sales tax, so.
Yeah, and stabilization fund.
Stable, yep, 375,000.
Commissioner's report, do you have anything?
No. Yeah.
Good. I've got just a couple quick things. One, we received our County Commissioners Association legislative agenda. So, been spending a little bit of time with that. These are things that we'll talk to Senate and House leadership about throughout the year. Nothing too dramatic, different from previous years. Some things that continue, but it's interesting that there's a number of items that CCAO is looking at that are very relevant and very real in Seneca County. One of them is water quality. The County Commissioners Association is saying, let's keep everybody in this conversation: wastewater plants, industrial discharge, failing home sewage treatment systems, municipal, and let's not just talk about the farmers. So let's spread that conversation around. Energy, they're interested in having, the counties have more authority in dealing with energy placement, since we have very limited authority over utilities locating in our county at this point. Interestingly, CCAO has taken a position that targeting communities' alternative for prison, TCAP, is bad legislation and that it should be reversed. Because it's the state of Ohio pushing felons into county jails, and it's the state's responsibility to take care of felons. Taxation, this is one that I think we need to really press them to get going on. There's a ruling in South Dakota, went to the state's Supreme Court, about the collection of online sales tax, and we all know that there's a lot of commercial transactions that are online. Most probably have sales tax collected, but not all. And so there is a ruling out there, and the legislature needs to act, which could help shore up our sales tax revenue. Of course, the DeWine tax increase, that 64% proposed increase in the gas tax is, we have to fix our roads, but an increase of 64% of the gas tax seems a bit excessive, and I think the legislature needs to figure out a way to tighten their belt and do something different. I'm confident that the Senate leadership has a different plan. Lodging taxes, I think there's some conversation there about having greater control over visitors bureaus so that they're more accountable to tax payers, because it is a tax. And I think those were the ones that jumped off at me. So we'll have this available if anybody's interested in looking at CCAO priorities.
Yeah, and this comes out every 2 years that they'll do it, and they'll revisit it through a lot of committees and so forth. Just came out, I just got back, so I hadn't even had a chance to flip through it yet. But I know, being engaged in some of the committees and so forth, it's important, but you think about the perspective of the size of all the counties in the state, all 88, and there are the very small, and we're small, but we're not the very small or the very, very small. And the different impacts of that legislation, and that board does the best it can to figure out what's right for all of Ohio, and to move things and to have a voice for counties. So it's important. So if you do want to know more into it, we can certainly get you that. It's also probably, I'm sure, on their website already.
That's true. Maybe we can look to see if there's a link and we can put that out on social media.
Yeah.
The other thing I had is Commissioner Kirchner and I discussed last week about having some kind of a work session where we could talk about use of the common areas at the Justice Center and the courthouse green. And so Commissioner Kirchner seemed to think it was a good idea. I certainly think it's a good idea to have some kind of session where the stakeholders, the city, the judges, the commissioners can get together. You know, for us to all be a participant, it's gonna have to be a public meeting.
Sure.
And have a conversation, because there were a few requests that had some objections, and I wasn't getting the objections. So I would like to just make sure that I understand what the issues are. So maybe we can get some dates and propose a meeting. We're all in that space together, so we want to make.
I know just recently through CCAO's, I forget what it's called, but their, I'm using old terminology, listserv, it used to be for ideas of things going on. There was commissioners that were sending out some notes to folks asking about those policies because they're having those concerns come up, and some of them had forms and some of them didn't have forms, and that kind of stuff. And there was, it was mixed answers across the board. And
Yeah.
some said we allow nothing, and some said, we do this, or so-and-so does it, and that kind of stuff. So we could, look at that too.
Yeah, that's a good resource to draw on, is what are the counties doing. I think we've been very thoughtful, but, it's a public space paid for with taxpayer dollars, and we have to be mindful that people want to use it. Okay, well, I think we've blown any old business. Any other new business?
Resolutions.
And go.
I will have to schedule that probably on a different day, the meeting work session with the judges, because they have pivot court on Thursdays. So when I get some dates, it'll be on another day, Tuesday or Wednesday. So
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fine. We can
Okay.
accommodate whatever schedule. And then it's probably gonna be virtually impossible to get everybody together, but, people who are interested will make time to participate if we give them
enough notice.
enough notice and enough options.
Okay.
It's an important conversation to have.
All right, resolutions. I have two supplemental requests. One is from EMS. They need an additional $5,000 in their patient refunds, other expense line. Our billing company's sometimes a little bit too efficient when they send out bills. Patients sometimes, citizens will pay those, or patients will pay those, and then the insurance company sends us a check. So we get paid twice, so we have to do refunds. So she needed an additional. There was actually quite a few just in the first 2 months of the year. I have a supplemental appropriation for the legal services line in $10,000. I have a fund transfer to the soil and water fund. Ditch maintenance deposits the money into the general fund. The general fund then transfers it to the soil and water, and they get additional grant funding with processing in that way. So it's just an in and out. So they're getting $97,680 from our transfers outline and into their soil and water transfers in other line. I have, I'll read Julie's. Kind of came up with a resolution authorizing the auditor's office to resume the duties of administration of county addressing effective April 1st, 2019. We referenced that ORC section and some reasons behind it, so add that one. And then I have a resolution approving the contract service agreement with Oriana House for Pivot on behalf of the Seneca County Common Pleas Courts, retroactive to January 1st, 2019.
I'll move the resolution to be approved as presented.
Second. Discussion. All right, roll call.
Commissioner Stacy?
Yes.
Commissioner Kirschner? Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Okay. That's all I have.
All right. Public comment. Charlene.
I just have a couple things, I didn't get it on the agenda, and they're just really quick. One, for the building and management plan, we have the signed contract, and we've already sent out the survey. That's one of the key steps, and it goes out to all department heads and elected officials. we ask that they all take this seriously and fill it out, put some thought into it, because this is our planning of the future of how our buildings are gonna look and what space they need. And the reality is that internally, we can always say a lot of things, but nobody hears it unless we put it in writing, and this is their chance to put it in writing and not think of it as a complaint, but think of it as, these are our suggestions, our thoughts, our needs, because that's gonna come back to the commissioners, and you guys are gonna look at this as part of that whole plan. And if it's not done honestly and openly, then the future for that department and the needs that they have for their building aren't going to be justly heard and justly taken care of. So that's very important, so I wanted to make sure that was out there. The second thing is that we are in full swing of taking applications for the Seneca County HSTS grant, which is the grant that helps replace failing or failed septic systems or repair them or do tap-ins. So if you know anybody in Seneca County who's in need of assistance, have them contact
You
us.
administer that, the health department doesn't?
Health department receives the grant and we have assumed administration of it for them.
Is that new?
It is new for us.
Okay.
Previously, it was WSOS, or Great Lakes Community Assistance Partnership, and the health department contacted us last year, asked our agency if we would like to take over the administration of that, since we're right next door, we're in county, we're easier for people to get to, and we said, sure. And by doing that, we were able to cut the administration cost that goes out to our citizens in half, because our member townships and villages and municipalities in the county all pay a membership fee or an assessment fee, and that helps pay for administration. So it's a cost savings to our citizens.
Yeah, one of the things that CCAO says is to continue to make that program available, because some of the runoff that's going into Lake Erie is coming from failing systems. And one of their points is to press it into different income requirements. And I just wondered, what is the cutoff? Do you know that off the top of your head?
I don't have it off the top of my head, but I have it.
You have a pamphlet?
I have it. I have it in my bag. So there's 3 different income brackets on that. The first one, and I'm just going to give you a nice brief example. For 100% funding for a household, if they have 1 to 4 people in it, they cannot make more than $24,600. For 85% funding, which means that the homeowner pays 15% of the cost, for a household size of 1 to 4, it's $49,200. And then 50% funding, which is the grant pays 50%, the homeowner pays 50%, means that a household size of 1 to 4 with an income of $73,800 can't exceed that. These are based off of the HUD poverty income guidelines.
And there's no cap on it, as far as dollar amount, whatever it costs, it costs?
We have to put it out to bid, we have to do the design and do a bid on that. Operation maintenance bid, we have to do a bid on the actual installation of the project.
Yeah.
So it's not like it happens overnight, you apply and tomorrow you get a new septic tank. No, it takes some time, so we gotta get through it. But it's open and we're ready to.
Yeah, we need to get word out on that.
We have done radio spots, we've done social media blasts, and we are doing a press release here soon as well. We've got new brochures that we put out throughout the county, and we're putting them in other places, especially with municipalities for their tap-ins that are needed.
And if you don't get responses from people on the voting, let us know what we need to do to add emphasis to that. Because we're spending a lot of money on that planning process, and we want to make sure we get good data in.
I agree, that's why I'm here to urge to do that.
Yeah.
So we will let you know, and we'll be monitoring that. The responses will be coming back to me, and then I forward that on to Gossman Group. So that's why I can set it up. They can do paper or they can do electronic on that. So there's some people who still like to write it on paper, so go right ahead and do it, we don't mind. Okay, so that's just a couple things I wanted to get out there since I wasn't on the agenda. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I have a question about that. So if they apply and they meet those income requirements and they have a failing system, do they automatically get it, or how does that, is it graded, or?
What happens is, let's just use my house as an example. It's not my house, but let's just use my house, okay? So I come in, I apply for the program. Our intake specialist for the program goes through, makes sure I'm income eligible. I then get a letter that states I'm eligible and what my percentage match would be, whether it's 100% paid for, 15% I need to pay, or 50% I need to pay. Then I'm also notified in that same letter that I have to pay the administration fee. And if I'm doing a septic tank replacement, That's a $500 administration fee. So I have to pay that out of my own pocket. I pay the $500 administration fee, and then it switches over into the site evaluation mode. And then the sanitarian from the health department, or health district, we need to get that correct, it's the health district, will come out and inspect your septic tank. And if it's failing, you will get orders that it's failing and it has to be replaced. Those orders come back to us, and then we will have a design bid put out, and the design will be reviewed. We get that bid back, we get a new design. Once we get the design, that goes into the bid packet to go out for the installation of the septic tank. Then once that's installed, we get the bill. If you're 100%, you don't owe us anything. If you're 15% that you need to pay as a homeowner, we're gonna send you a bill for 15%. If you're 50%, you get a bill for 50%, so you pay that. And then you get it passes an operation and maintenance requirements. That's how the process works. So, answer your question, or you have some more?
Yeah, absolutely. No, that was.
How do you find the ones that are failing or failing?
We have a stack like this right now in my office of applications. So those are self-reported, they can report themselves. And there's some that maybe the health department already knows that have failed or that are in crisis, and they will refer them to us. And we're also gonna market it out to Great Lakes Community Assistance Partnership for the rehabilitation program. So if they go to do rehab on a person's home, and they realize that they have issues with their septic, they can contact us to partner so that we can help reserve some of those rehab funds that come into Seneca County through the CHIP program, so they aren't using all of that and they can use some of our money towards that.
But if they pay the $500 administration fee and their system is bad, and they meet, if they pay that administration fee, we've already figured out they meet the health income rate, they'll get the funding.
That is the goal.
Okay.
And right now we're in 18 funding, so we've been awarded 19 funding, but you work a year behind, so we're working through 18's funding.
So when you run out of that, you'll stop.
And then we'll go into 19 funding.
Okay. So there's no one that pays this $500 and then doesn't.
Not that I know of.
Yeah. Gotcha.
How's that?
Yeah. Good. That's good.
And again, we just took over administration of this, so administration is what we've been doing since the beginning of the year, is admin work, developing contracts, new application, new guidelines, step-by-step procedures, and marketing and brochures. So just getting that out there. But I wanted to let you guys know what's going on.
Good stuff. Anything else? Good to the order. Seeing none, we'll stand adjourned.